Welcome into another episode of Load the Box, the best Viking show on YouTube. Starting off on a somber note tonight. I'm sure that if you're listening to this show, then you're probably obsessed with the Vikings, so we will try to make this quick as every sports media, every piece of media really that you've consumed in the last 2 days has probably had mention of the injury to Damar Hamlin on Monday Night Football. We went off the air or stopped being live, and I sent the podcast audio out and made sure that was good to go, and went upstairs and poured myself a drink. And as I sat down on the couch, I looked up and there was an ambulance on the field. So I called one of my buddies and to see what happened, and they showed the hit a couple times. And super sad. A lot of prayers from me and my family for sure. I will say, living in the Cincinnati area, he is in the best hands possible, in my opinion. Anyway, I know Peter King took some pushback for stating that if you're going to have, if you're going to go into cardiac arrest, best place to do it is on an NFL field, because of all of the trained staff that's there and how close you are to emergency medical facilities and things like that. UC Health, they employ the best people, and to the medical staff that was on the field, I haven't seen enough praise going their way. And I just feel that we should take a moment to really throw some praise their way. Sorry to monologue like that to start off the show, Will, but I do want to get your take. Not even your take, but I want to hear your thoughts on the injury and I mean the floor's yours. Whatever you have to say.
Yeah, it's I think I found myself to be a lot more somber than maybe I thought, because I think, to some degree it's distant from us, right? It's not our team. We've never met Damar Hamlin. We don't know his family, but I think I don't know, I've been very emotional, I think, in front of this whole situation. And um, not I haven't been able to fully articulate it yet, but I think part of it is just the fact that this 24-year-old young man's life was almost taken from him in a very brief moment playing the sport that he loves. And if you were watching the game or you saw a replay of the tackle, he made a tackle on T. Higgins, a Bengals receiver, a relatively normal hit, for NFL standards. Nothing too different about it. But just to see him have CPR administered to him on the field, and his mom was in the stands. So just this sort of crazy reality that happened to a very young man who is in the best shape of his life. And it shows the shortness of life. And you talked about it, Jordan. I think the way in which people have responded, not even just NFL people or sports media people, but the world, the United States, have responded to this has been really beautiful. To see the outpouring of prayer and the outpouring of donations to his toy drive GoFundMe. It's at $6 million. It's for something that had
The goal was
$2,500.
2,500.
It's really cool to see. I think I haven't verified this, but my brother mentioned to me that his jersey is the number one sold jersey in the NFL right now. Just crazy. And to see the outpouring of support and love I don't know if you saw this, Dan Orlovsky on NFL Live just stopped the show basically and prayed on live television for Damar Hamlin and his family. And just like really, it's shown like a really beautiful vulnerability of all these people that cover the sport for a living or play the sport for a living or coach it for a living. And it's something we get on here and shows bigger than us get on their platforms and they talk and get to spew about football, and like it's this fun thing that we get to do. They get to play this sport that they love, and but then I think something like this happens and we're all just floored, and there isn't like a proper way to respond. Like it's this, we all feel helpless in front of it. And um it's honestly to the point too, Jordan, where like I told my wife tonight, I wouldn't even care if they canceled the rest of the NFL season. And I don't think they're going to. They're going to play week 18. They're going to go on. But I've just had like this, and I don't even really know. I haven't been able to fully articulate it yet, but I don't, I think like my level of, like investment in the rest of the season is kind of just like meh. Like I think I've just realized how little it matters in the grand scheme of things, and how little the outcome of these games matter, because really like the sport of football especially, but so many sports in general, are so much more about companionship and teaching and learning and hard work and dedication and sacrifice, and all these things are coming to the forefront now that a tragedy is struck. And I don't know, it's a beautiful thing to see how we've responded. And yeah, it's by no means would you ever want something like this to happen, but the way in which really, the NFL community, but just the community in the United States has sort of like bonded together over this young man has been really remarkable.
Yeah, what's really beautiful about it is, and it's it's twisted to say what's beautiful about it, because there's a young man lying in critical condition about an hour away from me in Cincinnati, with a tube down his throat. And the last updates that I've seen are, he's breathing a little bit better, but not good enough to come off of the ventilation machines and yada yada. And I yada yada not because I'm trying to like get to my take. I yada yada because I don't know medical terminology.
Yeah.
And so I know that he is breathing. He has to be assisted breathing, and like he was at 100% like oxygen. Now he's down to like 50%, and they just have to see how his lungs respond. Because I mean, his body basically like restarted, and apparently it happened twice. He had to be brought back to life on the field and in the hospital. I mean, it's a serious situation. Like you said, it really takes you out of things. For me personally, I took that Green Bay loss that was the hardest loss of the season for me, because, like Jair Alexander goodied and they were slamming Vikings and they blew us out. And I was very mad and angry. And then Monday night happens and I'm just like, oh, it's a game. And it really is. I mean, there are people who are very passionate about Broadway shows, and they go and they see the Broadway shows because that's their entertainment. And there are people who are football fans or sports fans, and it's basically the same thing. It's just something to distract you from your day job, or to distract you from whatever. And I think that what I was getting to originally was the beautiful thing about the response is you're seeing like Bob Kraft, the Patriots owner, donated I think $18,003, because 18 in the Jewish faith means, I believe, chai, if I'm remembering this correctly, and that is like it's related to Judaism in a way that means life. And then 3 is obviously his number, and you're seeing non-religious people who are pulling for him and sending money to his charity. You're seeing Judaism, Christianity, Islam, just everybody is just coming together behind one thing. And super rare, especially nowadays. The show, I've said it from the beginning, I will say it now. We don't talk about politics. We don't talk, religion isn't necessarily political, but like typically my go-to stance is like we talk about oblong balls. This is much bigger than an oblong ball. We've spent about 10 minutes on it here. But I do want my final thoughts on it to just be, one, please get better, Damau, and also the medical staff that was on the field and that is in UC Health. Just thank you. Just that's amazing job
Yeah.
you have, they saved a football player's life, so they get a spotlight shown on them. Thank you for all the lives that you save daily. I mean,
Yeah.
they really are, like, they became a thing in COVID. Like the medical, our nurses and
Yeah.
our doctors and those people, they're superheroes in real life. And I hope that we can all take that away from this as well. If you
Yeah.
have anything else on it, I'll let you get to that, and then we can talk about the Chicago game.
No, I think that's all. I don't need to speculate more on the injuries and all that specifically because, like you mentioned, we're not medical people. So,
Right.
if you're looking for more actual medical diagnosis and everything, it's being very well covered. So you can find that stuff pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
And I've found that the reporting across different sites and stuff has been pretty accurate and the same.
Yeah.
So
That's one
people are
good thing.
taking
You're
this
not seeing a
very
lot of clickbait.
respectfully.
Yeah, you're
No,
not seeing a lot of clickbait. You're having legitimate doctors on shows that are talking about one thing or another, and that's definitely a good thing. All right, so
yeah,
11 minutes into the show, we will talk about the Vikings now. We did want to get that out, but excuse me. The Vikings play the Chicago Bears, who are going to be led in Soldier Field by Nathan Peterman, which was announced today. I am of the stance that the Vikings should be led by Nick Mullins, and we should probably, I don't know if Victor the Viking can play 5 offensive line spots, but we need to bench the O-line. We need to bench everybody that's going to take a snap in the playoffs because we're having some health concerns. Where do you stand on playing starters? And this is the crucial part. Do you think they should play a drive or two after the dysfunction in Green Bay?
I don't know. We talked about this a little bit on Monday, and I don't really think there's a right answer. Because from a health perspective, it's the safer thing, just to not play starters. But then on the other side, this new kind of offensive line that we're going to have, O'Neal is out for 4 weeks at least. Schlottman is out for at least 4 weeks. Bradbury was still a DNP in practice today. So the offensive line that we're looking at is from left to right: Darisaw, Cleveland, Reed, Ingram, and most likely Udo. And so you're kind of stuck with that group, 3 of the original starters, but 2 new ones, and at very important positions. I'll mention, center and right tackle are 2 of the most important positions on the field, let alone the offensive line. So I think it's probably important that those guys get some reps with Kirk. It's unfortunate that it's a meaningless game. For the most part, it's a meaningless game against a terrible team in potentially bad conditions. So it's not necessarily the situation that you want to, try and get good reps for these guys, but it's almost their only shot because the week after that is a playoff game. And that is more likely than not going to be the starting 5 on the offensive line come playoff week 1. So I think if I, had to lean that way, I'd probably say we should probably give at least the offensive line a good amount of reps. And, if you want to be conservative with it, give Kirk short dropbacks and make sure he doesn't get hit, and don't be super aggressive with, long dropbacks and deep shots down the field, and just try and limit the unnecessary hits that you can, have your quarterback take and wide receivers take. Don't throw shots over the middle of the field as much, do a lot of underneath stuff. I don't care really. I mean, it's a bad team. They're playing their 3rd string quarterback. They haven't won a game since I think October. It's a terrible football team we're playing on Sunday. And the last thing you want is somebody to get hurt in a meaningless game. So yes, Jefferson could still get some records and all that, but I kind of think you just can't care about it. You have to just, even if he's out there, I would say give him a few series, but I don't know. It seems like, in some senses, who cares what I think? It seems like they're going to play starters based on what I've heard from O'Connell and Cousins. I don't know if that means the entire game or not, but I think 1 half would be plenty, but we'll see. Where do you sit with it? I know you mentioned you'd rather see Nick Mullins, but Yeah, what are your thoughts on it? Maybe seeing the injury report and
I
Peterman
agree with
starting and all
I
that.
agree with everything that you have said. I take issue with one piece of it. So the offensive line needs to build some chemistry, and so a decision needs to be made about Garrett Bradbury and where he's at. Um, I'm led to believe that his back is like he's going to play in the playoffs. And if he is, I think we should try to roll him out there. This is a hot take. We should try to roll him out there for like a quarter and
Hmm.
treat this like probably a 2 or 3 drives max. Um, that he will play. We get all 5 of the starting linemen that are going to stout against the New York Giants. Let's just assume that, nothing crazy happens in San Francisco and Dallas and everybody just stays where they're at. Because I think that's the most likely scenario. Um, I would stout the offensive lineman and Kirk for one quarter. If Justin Jefferson even brings his pads to Chicago, someone needs to lose their job. And we're talking about a coaching staff that has won 12 games and the fan base loves because he's open and honest with the media and he's charismatic and yada. If Justin Jefferson plays a snap on Sunday, someone needs to lose their job. He's not close enough to the record for that to matter. If he was like 50 yards off the record, I would say, I don't love it, but I get it. If you're going to be a players coach, you have to let your players do that kind of stuff. But I don't even think Jefferson necessarily would care about this game because he's went on the record saying that he doesn't want to break any records. He wants to win a Super Bowl. That's all he cares about is championships. So I wouldn't put Justin Jefferson out there for a snap. I would let the starting offensive lineman play 2 or 3 series, and then I would start yanking. Like, obviously, you can't yank all of them, but like I would let Bradbury play a few series, and then he's out for Chris Reed. The second one of the starting offensive linemen is out, that's when Kirk, you're on the bench now. Get Mullins in there, and then like Darisaw should not be out there. And obviously, you run into an issue of like depth on the like you can't just put 5 new offensive linemen in because then if one of them gets injured, now you have to play a starter. And so like and this is where it starts sounding like terrible, but like of your offensive linemen, Darisaw is one that you cannot lose. We lost him for like 2 or 3 weeks and the offense paid a price for losing him. He has to, minimize the amount of time he's on the field. Ezra Cleveland, maybe he's a guy who ends up playing a full game and you try to just limit the amount of time they spend blocking and tell them, like, we're not worried about yards per carry. We're not worried about points. We are worrying about surviving this game healthy because we have a playoff game on Sunday. I do want to, the following Sunday or Saturday. I do want to say this, and this is how I'll end my take. Chicago has been, like, quote, an awful team, but that is clearly by design. It kind of feels like every time they build momentum, something crazy happens. Or it felt like they were kind of a, frisky, not going to make the playoffs, but could definitely shake up the bracket type of team. And then the deadline hit and they traded their best player away. Like it definitely feels like the front office is making a decision to tank. I am kind of envious of Chicago because they're going to have so much cap space to do this rebuild. They seem like they're in a good position for a rebuild. And so I don't know. Chicago is a team, like, I have my eye on them because I'm very suspicious that they're going to be, like, really good pretty soon. And Justin Fields has had a pretty solid season. If he can stay healthy, he's definitely going to be dangerous in the future. But we can talk about Justin Fields when we play him next season because we're not playing him in the playoffs because they tanked this year. So there's just no need to. We're not shaking things up. The 1 seed's out of the question. Just make this your bye week is kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah. And even if you, screw around with your backups, you could still beat the Bears. So if there is,
it's Nathan
that
Peterman,
outside...
he's going to throw 5 picks.
Yeah, I mean, even if the like if there's that outside chance that the Niners would lose by some miracle, like, then okay, you get the 2 seed. Like, there's still that outside possibility, but the chances are low. And one thing I wanted to talk about too is just kind of The schedule for Week 18 seems a little odd to me. I don't know if you have any other thoughts on it, but generally speaking, they like to put teams in the same window that are competing for the same playoff spots. So, for example, they put, Eagles and Cowboys in the 325 Central window, which makes sense because they're still jockeying for the top spot in the NFC East. So, you want to make sure they play at the same time so that one team doesn't get an advantage and can sit their starters if a certain situation goes one way or the other. The Vikings, on the other hand, the only team they're really competing with is San Francisco. And San Francisco plays in the 325 window, and the Vikings play in the noon window. So the Vikings really have no ability to know whether or not San Francisco may lose or can lose because their game won't start until the Vikings game is over. So not that it really matters because I don't think O'Connell would really treat it too differently. But you could see a scenario where if, the Vikings are playing their starters for a half maybe, and, at halftime they look up and they see, ooh, San Francisco's down by 10 points. Let's keep our starters in because you see an opportunity to go steal the 2 seed. But in this way, you really have no way to scoreboard watch. So, the other thing that I just want to complain about quick is the NFL clearly wants the Packers in the playoffs by putting them in not only in a different window than Seattle. Seattle has the 325 window, but the Packers have the prime time game at home, Lambeau Field. Aaron Rodgers doesn't lose in prime time against the putrid road Lions, who can't win a game on the road to save their life, and let alone do it in prime time outdoors. Yeah, it's not going to be that close, I don't think. I think the Lions will lose. I don't think it'll be terribly competitive, especially if Seattle were to lose, or excuse me, if Seattle were to win in the 325 window, that eliminates Detroit. And so the Lions might have nothing to play for. So in a way, it's a backhanded way of the NFL saying, screw you, Detroit, we want the Packers in the playoffs. Not a fan of it, but I shouldn't be surprised either.
Yeah, so I have seen this floating around Twitter. I agree. I don't like it, and it's not because of like the league wants the Packers in the playoffs, though I do believe that. It's not because of anything like that, but it is because you don't do that. You don't give a team you're dealing with three potential playoff teams. They're all fighting for the same spot, and you're gonna tell one of them probably, by the way, because the Rams have had like one good game all season, and it was on Christmas Day. Like you're gonna tell if Seattle beats the Rams, Detroit, like you said, Detroit doesn't have anything to play for. So you're basically saying like, hey, Detroit, here's this massive gut punch. Go play football afterwards. Your season's done. This doesn't. And so I think that Dan Campbell is the type of coach that doesn't care. And if I was in a Dan Campbell locker room, I feel like I wouldn't either. I think that this is because it's not like we're talking about two teams from separate conferences that play each other once every blue moon. We're talking about Green Bay, who Aaron Rodgers has not been quiet throughout his career about his ownership of of the NFC North. So he's been big brothering, saying I own Chicago and dunking on the Lions, and dunking on like Evan Foxy on the Pat McAfee show and drinking purple Kool-Aid after he beats the Vikings. Like he's pretty cocky about owning this division. At some point, I don't think the Lions are happy. So what is the next best thing other than a playoff berth if you're the Detroit Lions?
Yeah.
Knock Green Bay out. And it really is like that middle fingers to the sky. If we can't make it, neither can you. The Vikings will be the only representative from our division in. Have fun, Seattle. So I don't think that they will necessarily just roll over and die if Seattle wins. But it definitely, because they that whole, F you, we're not letting you into the playoffs thing, that's toned up to 15 if the
Yeah.
Lions can get in with a win. So I don't know. If
Yeah,
you
that's true.
Look, I guess we should say this. Let's go Los Angeles, beat Seattle. So Sunday night, Detroit has
Matters.
everything on the line.
Yeah.
And they can hopefully give it to Green Bay. I've seen Green Bay fans, by the way. I want to say this, and then I'll pass it back. Green Bay fans on the interwebs saying things along the lines of like, "Oh, Vikings fans want the Lions to get in instead of us because we beat them. Howdy, how we own you, blah blah blah." And it's like we beat you 3 months ago by 17 points, and then we continued to win games. And we won the division a week before Christmas. Like chill out, like big time chill out.
Well, and let's just be honest too. Just because the Vikings got shellacked on New Year's Day doesn't mean we liked the Packers anymore prior to that game. Vikings fans don't like the Packers. That's just the way it is. So
exactly.
That game didn't change our opinion of the Packers. It just solidified it.
And I think at the end of the day, who would, of the two teams, the Vikings obviously, like, it's a battle. The Vikings hate the Packers hate the Vikings. We go at each other on Twitter. We say, Packers writers do awful things to their dogs, and there's all these memes I went down a rabbit hole the other night, and I don't think I'm mentally stable after going down it. But yeah, I would much rather see Detroit make the playoffs than Green Bay, and it's not close. And honestly, Green Bay, you guys, you spanked us. Congratulations. We spanked you a few months ago. I don't want to play San Francisco as a Vikings fan. And honestly, as division partners, as division siblings, I don't want to see Green Bay get dog walked by San Francisco the way that they will if they have to play them on Wild Card weekend. I don't know. It's going to be a fun weekend, though, I think. A football for sure.
One just last thing on that. You mentioned that, the Lions will still come to play, and you're probably right, because Dan Campbell could get them hyped up for a, backyard flag football game. I think in some ways, you remove the pressure from a bunch of guys who have never really had pressure on them before. That actually might make them play easier, because if they know it's a win and in situation, they might get tense.
Yeah.
In a game where they know that they're already out, they could just play free, loose, and angry and just go, beat the Packers. One just, last complaint about the NFL scheduling. It would have been pretty simple for the NFL to put Packers-Lions on Saturday night in that primetime spot and put Jags Titans on Sunday night in that primetime spot and just flip them.
Yep.
It would have been pretty simple to do that, because Jags Titans is meaningful regardless of where you play it, and Packers Lions may not be meaningful, if you play it on Sunday night. Anywho, enough of that, but maybe just bouncing over to game balls, predictions, all that. We've hardly talked about the Bears Vikings game. There's not a ton to talk about other than just hopefully it's a get right game for this team, and get right for the offense, especially. The defense wasn't necessarily good, but they also only gave up 27 points. It's not like they gave up 40. The 2 touchdowns on special teams and defense made it look worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I see the Vikings winning, especially with Nathan Peterman playing. I think I'm just going to be kind of cute with my score prediction. The Vikings point differential, I believe, is -19 now after that blowout in Green Bay. So I think they're going to win this game. Let's just go 31-10 and make it a nice little +2 point differential on the season, and calm down the point differential haters on Twitter.
I love it.
I think they finally get that blowout win. Like I said, bad team, third string quarterback, especially if the starters do play like it sounds like they might. I'll give my game ball to Alexander Madison. We haven't given him much love on this show. The Vikings got to get the run game going. It doesn't need to be the focal point. It should not be the focal point in the playoffs, but it needs to be stable enough to where teams have to respect it. And I think Alex will probably get more snaps than Dalvin Cook does on Sunday. It makes no sense for Cook to play on Sunday with his injury history. Give him a snap to make sure that he gets to play, all 17 games or whatever, but don't let him play. Like, and hopefully this could be a game where Alexander Madison has a nice showing and gets in the end zone once or twice. So Vikings 31-10 and a game ball to number 2 in the backfield.
Yeah, I like Alexander Madison. It would be nice to give him a little showcase, almost a send off of sorts. Because next against the Giants, I'm just assuming it's going to be the Giants, but like the wild card weekend, Dalvin Cook will be the bell cow, so to speak.
Yep.
He's going to get a majority of the KOs, and Alexander Madison is gone next season. He's going to go off and be a superstar somewhere. But I'm going to go with Duke Shelley for my game ball.
Love it.
Waiting on the interception. We're playing someone who likes to throw them. It just seems right. He's been playing at an insane level. He came in, off the street basically, and not immediately, but like because of injury and whatnot, had to get playing time and had a key pass breakup against Buffalo. And I mean, he took Cam Dantzler's job from him.
Yeah.
And he's been playing really well, and he's probably our best corner at the moment. That's in my opinion, he is. And so I'm gonna say he gets his first career interception, and let's just go ahead and put a cherry on top. I'll get bonus points for this. Pick 6. He's going to take it back. He's going to get in the end zone.
It's
going to be a great moment. It's going to be a great moment.
He seems like the kind of guy who would want to have a revenge game too. He was picked up off the Bears practice squad, so he seems like that kind of guy who would carry that little monkey on his back.
Well, you can tell he's got I was going to say you can tell he's got a massive chip on his shoulder. Just the way he plays football. I mean, he just he has that metaphorical dog in him, as the kids say nowadays. But I'm going with the Vikings. It's funny. I think you said 31-10. I'm going 27-9. I do not see the Bears offense. I don't care how bad of a defense. We could play TCU Michigan style defense, and I still do not see Nathan Peterman finding the end zone. If they do score a touchdown, it is because they ran for 75 yards on a drive. And Nathan Peterman just, threw 3 balls in the stands, but they just kept running the ball in between those. So I'm anxious to see how everything goes. I hope everybody can stay healthy. I'm going to pass it off to you for final thoughts here in just a moment. Make sure you shop Unified Athletic Wear. Follow the show at LTB Vikings. Please follow my wonderful Load the Box partner, Will Goodwin, at Will Bad Lose on Twitter, the GOAT Twitter handle. Check out the Bad Loser blog, and of course, as always, check out VikingsTerritory.com for all of your Vikings stuff. And then we'll be back on Monday night to talk about the Bears game, but it'll probably be a little bit of a sneak preview for a playoff game on the following Sunday. So, that's all I have. Also, I need to start saying this. Check us out. We're podcast now, so we're on podcasting apps.
Yes.
That's all I have. We went super long tonight. Will, I'll pass it off to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Jordan said, find us on, Apple, Google, Spotify, all the different podcasting apps that you use. Just by searching Load the Box Vikings, pops right up. Follow, download, share, all the things, especially because that's generally the way people listen to podcasts is, on their mobile as they're moving around. So appreciate the listens from everyone tonight. And yeah, I just want to say too, Jordan, thanks for a great season. This is kind of our last regular season episode, and it's been a blast doing this with you. And I'm grateful, to have the chance to work with you and talk football twice a week. So final thought really is just, again, a prayer for Damar Hamlin, and can't imagine what his family's going through. And just pray that, Lord, that you take care of them, because there's a lot going on with him. It'd be scary as a parent thinking about my child being in that situation. I can't even fathom. So it's a somber note to end on, but I think it's important to acknowledge the gravity of the situation. And as the football season kind of winds down and heads into the most exciting part, there's going to be this sort of, in a way, dark cloud, but also hopefully some sunlight behind it and some hope coming behind it as well. Hopefully as Damar gets healthy. So cheers to the Hamlin family, prayers to them, and that's really all we have. That's all we want to end with today. And looking forward to talking with all of you on Monday, hopefully recapping the Vikings' 13th victory and a look ahead to the wild card playoffs. So signing off here, Will Goodwin with Jordan in Cincinnati. Skol, y'all.